So I'm out here in New York City in Brooklyn's Prospect Park, and today we're going to do a little bit of birding or bird watching, trying to catch the very end of the fall bird migration season here in New York City. So right now I'm sitting at the southeast end of the park, and I'm going to work my way through Prospect Park Lake, the lookout, and some other sites along the way to try to see some interesting birds. So I have my camera and we're gonna see what we can find. Just making sure I had the camera properly set up. I had actually never photographed birds using this camera before. I got a couple pictures of these small finches that were just hanging out by the front entrance of the park where I was at in these vines. And you'll notice there's no leaves. It's early December, so it was very easy to spot birds in most of the trees because there was no foliage cover. So moving on, there was then a small, I believe this was also a finch, but I couldn't get a good look at it. But this one was just laying on the ground in the path and then it flew away. But just a funny little picture. This is a northern cardinal with that crest really stuck up. It's kind of backlit, but I really like the way this photo turned out. The lake at Prospect Park had just started to freeze over, even though it was above freezing on this day. So the geese and other water birds were walking out onto the lake and just standing out there. So I got a handful of photos of them walking on water, as it were, because the top level looked melted, so it gave the illusion that they're standing right on the surface of the water. The next interesting bird I saw was this red-bellied woodpecker, which is relatively common in this region, but I've never seen one in New York City before, and it seemed very calmly going about its business. It was really nice to see. I just hung out and looked at it for a minute. This is a photo of a blue jay. I believe it's called an eastern blue jay. This is a gray catbird. This was a really funny photo. I saw this group of shoveler ducks just huddling together for warmth, presumably, but then they were approached by this one large Canada goose that was standing over the group, so it looked like a duck-goose situation here. But yeah, I think there's mallards and northern shoveler ducks. The shovelers are the ones with that white plumage and the greenish looking head. It's kind of a white and brown, I guess, plumage. These, I actually had never seen these before, so I didn't know what they were, even though they are apparently pretty common, and that is the American coot. Look at that weird looking bird. I mean, it kind of looks like a dinosaur. I thought they were ducks at first, and then this one just looked at me, and it reminds me of that one bird from New Zealand that they thought was extinct and came back or something like that. It has that really long bill, and it's kind of a round-looking bird. This one made dead eye contact with me. Kind of creepy little red eyes, but I find them cute. There was really a bunch of them hanging out in this one little area of the lake. Here's another cardinal that was hanging out in the bushes. You can see how cold it is by how fluffed up his feathers are. And then there's a small pattern. I'm not sure if he's molting or if it's like a small leucism case, you know, where these feathers have not been fully pigmented naturally, or if he's just molting. I can't really tell, but I like the way the photo turned out and the contrast between his feathers. Next up, I saw a really small woodpecker, which I later realized was a female downy woodpecker. I wasn't able to identify it at first, but it was really funny to see this really small woodpecker pecking away at essentially a piece of grass, as you can see, a reed of some kind. So it's like a small woodpecker on a micro tree. It's a pretty funny little sight to see. Here is an abundance of these seagulls flying above the lake, and you can see the Canada geese standing out pretty far out from the shore. The water seems to be frozen, but these seagulls were really taking off and circling around in mass. This is just a little poofed up mourning dove that I just thought was a lovely round shape. I posted it in the Reddit called Borbs, which means bird orbs or orb birds, and I think that it is self-explanatory as to why. So next up I have a couple more photos of these water birds. There's a Canada goose with some more of these shoveler ducks. Here's some mallards alongside a mute swan, and there was a handful of these swans hanging out here. I was able to get really close to one here and get a very crisp resolution photo of it. This little gray bird, I'm honestly not sure what this is. I was not able to identify it, so let me know in the comments if you're a bird expert or something and know what this little guy is. He's not very distinct looking, but it was really different than anything I'd seen before, so I did snap a photo. So now moving on from the lake area to this hill that's supposed to be one of the tallest points in Brooklyn, so it should be good for spotting raptors and things like that. So I believe this is called Lookout Hill. Finally made it to the summit. The view up here is pretty nice, so even if we don't see any birds, it was nice to come up here. I've never been here before. Well, I did not really see anything up there. It seems like today, or at least at this time of day, most of the birds are hanging out by the waterfront. So I'll go back there. So I had gone up to the high point on Lookout Hill to try to find hawks and other raptors, but had pretty much no luck at all. I saw a couple of fat squirrels, that's it, really. But as soon as I came down, I was greeted by this guy. This massive, fluffy, juvenile red-tailed hawk that was just sitting there on a branch about 2-3 feet off of the path. And I was able to really sit next to it and get a lot of great resolution and pretty funny photos because it was just looking at me at a certain point and kind of messing around. I think hawks and other animals, I guess all animals that live in cities, just behave a little bit differently than the ones that I'm used to back in Kentucky. So it was really funny to see this huge hawk just sit there and look at me like it's a squirrel or something. So that was pretty funny. But after that came the real best sighting of the day, though, because as I walked along the waterfront to basically leave the park, I saw another hawk, or what I thought was a hawk, up in a tree, and I snapped a photo. From the way that its front feathers looked, at first I thought it was another red-tailed hawk, and I just liked the way that it was framed in the photo. But when I blew this up and really looked at its face, I realized that it was a peregrine falcon, the fastest bird in the world. And I know that there are a handful of these that live in New York City because they like to perch on top of the skyscrapers and tall bridges. But I've never seen one before. So that was incredibly interesting. After seeing that, I was pretty much heading out of the park. I got another photo of some mallard ducks, and then had one more appearance by a red-tailed hawk that was over, if you know Prospect Park, you know that area where there's just a huge pile of wood chips for Lord knows why. It was sitting over that area, and apparently hunting these squirrels that like to hang out there as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it encourages you to go out to your city parks, because there is an insane amount of birds and forest-level wildlife that you can really see in these urban parks. And I have basically no photography experience beyond using an iPhone, so using the automatic settings on a camera with a decent zoom lens, you can really accomplish a lot. So make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and tune in for more content in terms of travel, animals, and other things related to that. Thanks for watching.